The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Velthar stepped forward. His crystalline body flickered with lights that every species in the room could read. He was terrified. "The Ravagers have broken through our defenses," Velthar said. His voice shook even through the translation device. 17 colony worlds are gone, billions of people dead. We think everyone will be extinct in 40 days. Around the big round chamber, representatives from 100 different worlds looked at each other with fear. The Ravagers were an old nightmare that had become real. They were a swarm of creatures that ate everything on a planet. They left nothing behind but empty rock. Council Speaker Tiermon floated in the center of the room. He was made of gas and glowed orange with sadness. "We have 3,000 ships in our fleet. The Ravagers have hundreds of thousands of ships. We cannot win this fight." "What about the mercenary groups?" someone asked. "We already hired them. They are fighting right now. But they can only slow the Ravagers down. They cannot stop them." From the upper level of the chamber, someone shouted, "What about Earth?" The chamber exploded with noise. Every species made sounds of surprise, chirps, whistles, electronic buzzes, and voices in many languages. Earth, the death world. That dangerous planet where everything tried to kill you. The humans who lived there had to be tough just to survive. They were the galaxy's best fighters when they needed to be. Velthar's lights grew dimmer. "The humans have never sent a big army to help anyone. They send teachers and small groups of soldiers, that is all. Asking them for more would be embarrassing." "We are dying," Tiermon interrupted. "Pride does not matter when you are dead. I will ask them myself." Admiral Kang Day had been waiting for this call. The 53-year-old military officer stood in the observation deck of the UES Indomitable. It was Earth's biggest and best warship. Behind him, through the thick window, Earth looked like a beautiful blue and green jewel floating in space. It looked peaceful, but it was one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we are getting a message from the Galactic Council. It is marked urgent and important. Send it to my private office." A few minutes later, Day stood in front of a hologram of Tiermon. The alien's gas body swirled with colors that Day's translator read as desperate hope mixed with shame. "Admiral Kang Day," Tiermon began, "I come to you not as your boss or even your friend. I come as someone who is begging. My people are dying. 17 worlds are gone. Hundreds of billions of people are dead. Our fleets cannot stop the Ravagers." Day stayed quiet. His face showed nothing. He had read the reports about the Ravagers. He knew what Tiermon was going to ask. "I know humanity's rules. You prefer to stay home and protect your own people. But I must ask, will Earth send help? Even a small fleet would help us so much." Day allowed himself a small smile. "Speaker Tiermon, you misunderstand us. We have not sent big fleets before because nobody asked. Nobody asked because the problems were not big enough." He leaned forward. "You are asking now. Wait for our answer." President Park Min-ji called together the Security Council within 1 hour. Around the table sat Earth's most powerful people. Military commanders, intelligence directors, and the Secretary of Space Affairs all looked serious. "The question is simple," Min-ji said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. "The Galactic Council wants military help against the Ravagers. Our intelligence confirms the Ravagers could reach the Council's main worlds in 60 days. If the Council falls, the Ravagers will have enough factories and resources to eventually come after Earth." Defense Minister Li Tai-yang brought up pictures and charts on the big screen. "We have been quietly preparing for this for 30 years. We call it Project Hammerfall. 7 complete battle fleets. Each fleet has a big carrier ship at the center. 18,000 ships total, not counting the support ships. Every ship has a crew of volunteers who have been training for space battles their whole adult lives." 18,000 ships, someone whispered. That is 6 times bigger than the Council's entire fleet. What will it cost? Minji asked. We already have the money set aside. We have been building these ships in secret shipyards on the dark side of the moon and on Titan. Nobody knew about it. The cost to our economy is very small. Minji looked around the table at everyone. We all know what will happen when we show our real military power. The Council will be afraid of us. Some species will hate us. Our place in the galaxy will change forever. Admiral Kang Day spoke from his video connection on the big screen. Madam President, they can be afraid of us, or they can die. I know which one I would choose. Minji nodded slowly. I did not become president by choosing easy paths. She stood up. Activate Project Hammerfall, all 7 fleets. Admiral, you do not come home until every Ravager is dead. No half measures, no warnings. Show the galaxy exactly what humans can do when we stop being polite. Yes, Madam President. As everyone left the meeting, Minji looked out at the Soul City lights, then up at the stars. Humanity had been the new species for 100 years. They had been polite and careful. That was about to change. The message reached the Galactic Council 36 hours later. Speaker Tiermon opened it in private first. His gas body rippled with confusion as he read the human response. To the Galactic Council and all sentient beings threatened by the Ravager attack, Earth acknowledges your request for military help. We are deploying Fleet Group Alpha under Admiral Kang Day, approximately 2,600 ships. We will arrive at Rally Point Theta 9 in 14 standard days. More fleets will follow. Hold on. Help is coming. Admiral Kang Day, UES Indomitable. Tiermon read it 3 times. 2,600 ships. He must have misunderstood. He checked the translation device. No error. He pulled up Earth's known military records from 2 years ago. Listed strength was 342 ships, mostly small frigates and destroyers. His body flashed urgent yellow. Get me the Council. Emergency meeting. Right now. The emergency meeting lasted 6 minutes before everyone started shouting. Impossible, said the Quellan military officer. Our intelligence says humans have maybe 500 ships at most. This is either a mistake or a cruel lie. Velthar brought up a holographic display. I put observation satellites near their fleet bases. This is a live video feed. The central display activated. It showed the dark side of Earth's moon. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just the standard lunar shipyards. Then the camera angle changed, and the chamber went completely silent. Coming out of hidden bays deep inside the moon were ships unlike anything most Council species had ever seen. Huge carrier platforms, each one 3 kilometers long. Around them were escort ships that made standard Council cruisers look tiny, battleships with armor so thick you could see it from space, destroyer groups moving in perfect formation. More and more and more ships kept coming. By the ancestors, someone whispered. The fleet kept coming. The counter at the corner of the display kept climbing. 500 ships, 800, 1,000, 1,500. They assembled in loose formation with their running lights blazing bright. It was a clear message that humanity was not hiding anymore. When the last ship left the lunar shipyards, the counter showed 2,614 ships. They built this in secret, Velthar said quietly. For decades, they built this while we thought they were just exploring space peacefully. They have been preparing for a war we did not know was coming. Tiermon glowed deep purple, which meant respect mixed with fear. And that is just the first fleet. The message said more groups would follow. Aboard the UES Indomitable, Admiral Day looked at the final readiness reports. His flag captain, Commander Rosuman, stood beside him with a datapad showing fleet organization. All ships report ready for faster-than-light travel, Suman said. Food loaded, ammunition at 100%, all systems working perfectly. Crew morale is very high. Day looked at her. Very high? Sir, these crews have been training for this mission for years. some of them for decades. They are ready to show the galaxy what we can do. What we can do is die just like everyone else, Commander. The Ravagers have numbers on their side. We have training, technology, and determination. I need you to make sure every captain understands this is not a liberation mission. This is an extermination. The Ravagers do not surrender. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat. We are going to fight the kind of war humanity has not seen since we unified Earth. Yes, sir. The kind of war we are good at. Day allowed himself a grim smile. Exactly. Prepare the fleet for travel, and send a message to the 2nd through 7th fleets. Tell them to finish their preparations and join us as soon as they can. Something tells me we are going to need them. In the crew quarters of the UES Steadfast, a destroyer attached to the carrier Righteous Fury, Lieutenant Choi Minho briefed his tactical team one final time. "Listen up," he said, pulling up Ravager combat information on the display. "These things fight like nothing you have trained against. They swarm. They do not care about casualties. They will throw 1,000 small craft at you to keep your defensive guns busy while their capital ships get close for boarding. They adapt fast. If a tactic works once, expect them to counter it by the 3rd time." "So what is our advantage?" asked Ensign Kim Bora, the youngest member of the team at 22 years old. Minho smiled. "We are from Earth. We are creative and adaptable. We come from a planet that has been trying to kill us since we climbed down from the trees. Every human on this fleet has the benefit of 4 billion years of evolution. We are not smarter than the Ravagers." His smile turned predatory. "We are meaner." The team laughed. The tension eased a little. "One more thing," Minho added. "The galactic species are watching. They are afraid of what we might become. So let us show them exactly what a unified humanity looks like when we are protecting the innocent. Professional, precise, and absolutely overwhelming. Questions?" Silence. "Good. Get some rest. We jump in 4 hours." The fleet jumped as one. Reality split open as 2,600 ships entered faster than light space. Behind them, Earth continued its rotation, unchanged and unconcerned. But the galaxy had noticed. On 100 worlds, news feeds broadcast the images of the human fleet. Strategic analysts changed their estimates of Earth's military capacity upward by huge amounts. Some species felt relief. Powerful allies had arrived. Others felt a cold dread. The humans had been hiding their strength. The friendly, curious species that traded cultural things and offered technical help had been quietly building an armada capable of challenging any 3 council species combined. What else were they hiding? In the council chamber, Speaker Tirmon addressed the assembly. "Our request for help has been answered beyond all expectation. The humans are coming with enough force to change the balance of this war. We should be grateful." "And when the Ravagers are defeated," asked the Quellan representative, "what then? Who controls the strongest fleet in known space?" Tirmon pulsed a resigned orange. "Then we hope we made the right friends." 14 days later, Fleet Group Alpha dropped out of faster-than-light space at Rally Point Theta 9. The defensive fleet stationed there scattered in momentary panic at the sudden appearance of so many contacts. Then someone identified the friendly or enemy signatures. Human. All of them. Admiral Day opened a general channel. "This is Admiral Kang Day of the United Earth Space Command. We are Fleet Group Alpha. To the defenders who have been holding the line, well done. Rest, resupply, and get ready for the counterattack. We brought friends." As if on cue, Fleet Group Beta dropped out of faster-than-light space. Another 1,800 ships centered around the carrier Defiant, the channel filled with an overlapping chorus of relief, disbelief, and desperate hope from a dozen species. Day looked at Commander Suman. "Signal all ships. Battle formation Delta 7. Begin the advance." He paused. And someone get me a tactical plot of the nearest Ravager concentration. It is time to introduce ourselves properly. The human fleet turned as one. Thousands of ships moving with the precision of a single organism. They burned toward the war zone. The Ravagers had consumed 17 worlds. They were about to learn what happened when you threatened a Deathworld species. The Quellan cruiser Pride of Velen hung at the edge of the designated safe zone. Its crew watched the tactical feed with mounting dread. Captain Mortin had fought the Ravagers for 3 months. He had watched them overwhelm defensive positions through sheer numbers. He had seen them adapt to every weapon and tactic the Council forces used. "The humans are holding position," his sensor operator reported. "Enemy swarm now at 40,000 kilometers. 35,000. They are not moving." "They are going to be overrun," Mortin said quietly. "Break off. We need to retreat before—" "Sir, energy spikes across the human formation. Multiple launches detected." The tactical display lit up as thousands of missiles erupted from the human fleet. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands. Launched in a coordinated attack that turned the space between the two fleets into a wall of accelerating weapons. But that was just the opening act. "High-energy laser batteries firing," the sensor operator's voice rose in pitch. "Railgun signatures detected. Particle beams. Sir, every human ship just opened fire at the same time. I am reading over 100,000 individual weapons discharges." The Ravager Vanguard hit the missile wall first. Nuclear-tipped warheads detonated in a carefully planned sequence. They created overlapping spheres of destruction that vaporized everything within 50 kilometers. The Ravager swarm, packed tight for maximum impact force, simply ceased to exist in chunks measuring thousands of ships. Then the energy weapons arrived. Laser beams powerful enough to destroy capital ships at range found targets among the surviving Ravagers. Railgun projectiles, simple metal slugs accelerated to near-light speed, punched through multiple ships in a single shot. Particle beams designed to disrupt electronic systems fried the Ravagers' intelligence nodes. Entire sections of the swarm went dumb and uncoordinated. "Point defense network is integrated," Commander Suman reported. Her voice was steady despite the unprecedented carnage on display. "Tracking efficiency at 94%. Admiral Day watched the battle unfold with the detached interest of a chess master. The Ravagers were still coming, but their numbers were depleting at an exponential rate. For every second that passed, hundreds of contacts disappeared from the tactical display. "They are going to reach firing range," Suman noted. 10,000 survivors. 8,000. They are adapting, dispersing their formation. "Too late," Day said. "Commander, activate the hammer." In perfect synchronization, every human carrier launched its full complement of fighters. Small, agile craft piloted by humans who had trained their entire adult lives for this moment. 200 fighters per carrier, across 6 carriers in the Vanguard. 1,200 craft that moved through the debris field like sharks through water. Lieutenant Choi Min-ho, temporarily assigned to carrier operations coordination, watched the fighter pilots go to work. They did not engage individually. That would be inefficient. Instead, they fought as integrated squadrons. Their tactics were honed through 10,000 hours of simulation against Ravager combat doctrine. The Ravagers had speed and numbers. The human pilots had something better. Creativity forged in the crucible of a death world where every predator species learned to adapt or die. Within 20 minutes of engagement, the Ravager Vanguard had been reduced to scattered debris. "Cease fire," Admiral Day ordered. "Recovery operations for our fighters. Damage report. Hull breaches on destroyers Vigilant and Defiant Star. Contained and sealed. Minor damage across 12 other ships. 0 losses. All fighters returning safely." Suman paused. "Sir, we just destroyed approximately 48,000 enemy ships. Our munitions expenditure was 11%. Day nodded once. Signal the reserve fleet elements, begin recovery operations, and someone transmit our combat data to the Council observer ships. I want them to see exactly what we can do." Aboard the Pride of Velen, Captain Morton stared at his tactical display in absolute silence. His crew stood frozen at their stations, processing what they had just witnessed. The humans had not just won. They had achieved something the Council fleet had considered impossible. A lopsided victory against an overwhelming Ravager force without losing a single ship. "Captain," his communications officer said softly, "the humans are requesting a status update on our ship. They are asking if we need assistance." Morton felt something he had not experienced in 3 months of fighting. Hope. But it was hope mixed with a primal fear. The humans had been holding back. For a century, they had been polite neighbors, helpful traders, enthusiastic students of galactic culture. And all that time, they had been building weapons that made Council military technology look primitive. "Respond," he said finally. "Tell them we are operational and tell them thank you. And ask them how many more of these Ravagers they can handle." The response came in Admiral Day's calm, measured voice. "All of them, Captain. That is why we are here." 30 days after the Battle of Theta 9, the war had changed completely. What had been a desperate retreat was now a systematic extermination campaign. The human fleets, all 7 now deployed across a 300-light-year front, pushed into Ravager-held territory with methodical precision. Admiral Kang Day studied the strategic map in his ready room aboard the Indomitable. Blue markers showed human fleet positions. Red markers showed Ravager concentrations. The red was slowly being eaten up by blue, system by system, world by world. But it was slow, grinding. The Ravagers adapted to every tactic after initial contact. This forced humanity to constantly come up with new ideas, and their numbers seemed endless. Commander Ro Sumin entered with the latest casualty reports. Fleet Group Delta took heavy losses at the Corvin system. Destroyer Horizon was lost with all hands. Captain Yoon sacrificed his ship to protect the carrier group from a suicide run. Day closed his eyes briefly. 327 crew aboard the Horizon. Good people. Make sure their families receive full honors. What is our overall status? We have eliminated an estimated 600,000 Ravager ships across all theaters, reclaimed 8 colony worlds, including 3 that were being eaten. Civilian casualties on those worlds were extensive, but we saved millions. And our losses? 43 ships destroyed, 81 severely damaged, crew casualties at 4,200. Day pulled up the casualty projections from before the war began. They had estimated 10,000 casualties in the first month. The human fleet was doing better than expected, but the cost was still mounting. "The Council wants another meeting," Suman continued. "They are asking about our long-term operational capacity." "What they really want to know is whether we can actually win this," Day replied. "Tell them I will attend. But first I need to speak with the other fleet commanders." Private channel. The holographic conference assembled the 7 admirals commanding humanity's deployed forces. Day recognized each face. They had come up through the ranks together, had planned for this war in classified briefings, had trained together for decades. Admiral Nam Ji-woo of Fleet Group Beta spoke first. "Our crews are holding up well, but we are burning through ammunition faster than expected. The Ravagers keep adapting. This forces us to use specialized munitions instead of standard ammunition." "Same here," added Admiral Oh Hyon of Fleet Group Gamma. "And we are starting to see psychological strain among some crews, fighting an enemy that never surrenders, never retreats, never shows fear. It is affecting morale." Day nodded. This was expected. "I am authorizing rotation of combat crews back to support roles. We brought enough personnel to allow for rest periods. Use them. As for ammunition, Earth is increasing production. Supply convoys are already on their way." What about the strategic situation? Asked Admiral Song Kiwan of Fleet Group Epsilon. We are winning tactically, but the Ravagers still have billions of ships spread across hundreds of systems. At our current pace, this war could take years. Which is why we are changing the strategy, Day replied. We have been fighting a war of grinding them down system by system. That is about to change. Intelligence has located what they believe is the Ravager primary hive system, the central intelligence node that coordinates their entire species. The other admirals leaned forward. We are going to cut the head off, Day continued. All 7 fleet groups, concentrated for a single decisive strike. We hit the hive system, eliminate the central intelligence, and let the rest of the Ravagers become uncoordinated swarms that the Council fleets can handle. Admiral Nam frowned. That is putting every ship we have in one place. If it is a trap, then we fight our way out or we die trying. But if we succeed, we end this war in one engagement instead of spending years bleeding for every system. Day's expression hardened. I have already discussed it with President Park. She has given authorization. We attack in 72 hours. Coordinate your groups and prepare for transit to Rally Point Omega. Lieutenant Choi Minho received the briefing aboard the Steadfast with mixed feelings. On one hand, the chance to end the war in a single battle was worth almost any risk. On the other hand, putting the entire human fleet in one place left Earth's colonies vulnerable if things went wrong. You are thinking too much, Ensign Kim Bora said, catching his expression. That is an officer thing. We just shoot what we are told to shoot. Minho smiled despite himself. How do you stay so relaxed before a battle that might determine the fate of human civilization? Easy. I am from Busan. We survived multiple alien invasions in the old history books, plus tsunami season every year. If humanity survived that, we will survive this. She paused. Also, I figure the Ravagers are about to learn the same lesson every other threat in history learned. Never underestimate a species that invented martial arts, fermented vegetables, and nuclear weapons in the same evolutionary time frame. That is actually weirdly comforting, right? Now come on, we have pre-battle systems checks to run. The Galactic Council observers watched the human fleet consolidate with growing alarm. Every ship, every carrier group, every support ship, all concentrating at a single point in space. They are either supremely confident or completely insane, the Quellan military officer commented. Speaker Tiermon pulsed an anxious yellow. Admiral Day informed me of their plan. They have located the Ravager Central Hive. They intend to destroy it. That is suicide. The hive will be defended by millions of Ravagers. The humans seem to disagree. Tiermon pulled up the tactical projection the humans had shared. They have developed a new weapon system specifically for this engagement. They call it the Anvil. They will not explain how it works. Only that it requires all 7 fleet groups to deploy at the same time. And if they fail, Tiermon pulsed a deep, mournful orange. Then the war is lost. The Council fleets cannot continue operations without human support. We will be forced to retreat to our core worlds and pray the Ravagers do not have the capacity to reach them. So humanity is gambling everything on a single attack. Yes, and we have no choice but to hope they win. Rally Point Omega, 72 hours later. 18,000 human ships filled the space around a dying red giant star. The combined fleet represented the largest concentration of military power in known galactic history. More firepower than the Galactic Council had deployed in its entire 1,000-year existence. Admiral Kang Day stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, Commander Suman at his side, and addressed the entire fleet via open channel. Every crew, every ship, every one of you knows what we are about to do. The Ravager hive system contains their central intelligence, the brain that coordinates billions of their ships across hundreds of light years. Destroy it, and we cut the head off their entire species in one strike. He paused, letting his words carry across 18,000 ships. We are about to fight the largest naval engagement in human history. The enemy will outnumber us. They will be fighting to preserve their entire species, and they will throw everything they have at us. Another pause. But we are from Earth. We are the descendants of a species that survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, pandemics, and our own worst instincts. We are a species that looked at the stars and decided we belonged there. We are a species that builds weapons capable of cracking planets and then has the wisdom to never use them unless necessary. His voice hardened. The Ravagers have consumed billions of innocent lives. They have erased entire civilizations. They have spread across the galaxy like a cancer, and everyone was too afraid or too weak to stop them. He smiled, cold and predatory. They clearly have not met humans before. All ships prepare for fleet transit. Target coordinates locked. On my mark. Across the fleet, every crew braced for combat. Every weapon system charged. Every pilot climbed into their fighters. For Earth, Admiral Day said quietly. For the billions who cannot fight for themselves. For the future. He raised his hand. All ships, execute. Reality split open as 18,000 ships jumped at the same time. They tore a hole through space and time that would be visible from 100 light-years away. The final battle had begun. The news of the fleet concentration spread through the galactic communications network within hours. Species that had considered Earth a minor player suddenly changed their strategic calculations. Some prepared for the worst. If the humans failed, the Ravagers would be unstoppable. Others prepared for a different kind of worst. If the humans succeeded, they would control the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. President Park Min-ji sat in her office in Seoul, watching the news broadcasts from across the galaxy. She had made the decision, sent 18,000 ships and their crews into the most dangerous battle in history. Madam President, her chief of staff said quietly, the fleet has jumped. They are committed now. Min-ji nodded. Then we wait, and we hope that humanity's strength is enough. She looked up at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, the fate of the galaxy was being decided. By humans, from Earth, from the death world that had forged the most dangerous species in known space. The Ravager hive system had evolved over thousands of years. At its heart was a massive structure the size of a small moon. It housed the Central Intelligence, a biological supercomputer formed from billions of individual Ravager consciousness nodes linked into a single terrifying intellect. It sensed the humans coming 3 seconds before they arrived. Then reality shattered. 18,000 human ships materialized in perfect battle formation, already moving at combat speed, already firing. Contact! Commander Ro Sumin's voice cut through the bridge of the Indomitable. Multiple hostile signatures. Admiral, they were waiting for us. Admiral Kang Day studied the tactical display without flinching. The Ravagers had assembled their entire strategic reserve. Not millions, but billions of ships, arranged in defensive shells around the hive structure. Of course they were waiting, Day replied calmly. They are not stupid. Estimated enemy strength? Tracking 6. No, 8 billion individual contacts. Sir, we are outnumbered 400 to 1. Then it is a fair fight. All fleet groups, initiate Anvil Protocol, Phase 1. Throughout the human armada, specialized ships moved to predetermined positions. They were construction ships, heavily modified, carrying devices that had taken Earth's best scientists 30 years to develop. Lieutenant Choi Min-ho watched from his tactical station aboard the Steadfast as the space around the human fleet began to shimmer. Gravity well generators are deploying, locking the entire system. Translation? Asked Ensign Kim Bora beside him. Nothing in this system can jump to faster than light speed. Not us, not them. This battle ends when one side is completely destroyed. Bora's face went pale. Oh. That is final. That is the point. Phase 2 should be starting now. Phase 2 of Anvil Protocol was brutally simple. Overwhelming firepower focused on absolute destruction. The human fleet did not spread out to engage the Ravagers across a broad front. Instead, it formed a spearhead, a concentrated formation designed to punch through the enemy defensive shells using raw firepower to create a corridor directly to the hive structure. "All batteries continuous fire," Admiral Day ordered. "Munitions expenditure is unlimited. Fighters deploy and screen our advance. Fleet Group Beta and Delta maintain flank security. Groups Epsilon and Gamma suppress their capital ships. Alpha, Zeta, and Theta, with me. We are going straight through." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries. The Ravagers threw themselves at the human formation in waves. They accepted huge losses to slow the advance. Human point defense systems burned continuously. They created a curtain of fire that vaporized thousands of enemy ships per minute. When Ravager boarding ships breached the defensive line, they found human Marines waiting in the corridors with weapons designed to kill at close range. Aboard the carrier Righteous Fury, Squadron Commander Han Jisoo led her fighter wing through a storm of fire. Her display showed hundreds of friendly craft engaging thousands of Ravagers in a three-dimensional battlefield. "Bravo, wing! Form up on me!" she called, her voice steady despite the G-forces. "We have got a cluster of capital ships trying to flank the Indomitable. Let us remove them." Her squadron executed a perfect synchronized attack. Their missiles found the weak points in Ravager armor that human intelligence had identified months earlier. 3 enemy capital ships died in rapid succession. Their hulls split open to vent atmosphere and crew into the vacuum. Good kill, reform," and Jisoo's warning system screamed. "Break, incoming!" A Ravager suicide ship detonated 20 meters from her fighter. The blast wave sent her tumbling, her cockpit filled with red warning lights. She fought for control. Her training took over even as part of her mind registered that her starboard engine was gone and her life support was failing. "Fury Actual, this is Bravo Lead. I am hit and losing attitude control. Going to need a pickup if someone is available." "Copy that, Bravo Lead. Search and rescue shuttle is on the way. Hang tight." Jisoo activated her emergency beacon and watched the battle continue to rage around her damaged fighter. The human fleet was still advancing, still grinding forward through impossible odds. She had done her part. Time to let someone else carry the weight. Admiral Oh Hyan of Fleet Group Gamma watched her tactical display with grim satisfaction as her battleship systematically destroyed Ravager heavy units. The enemy had numbers, but human weapons technology was proving superior. Better targeting, better penetration, better damage per shot. But the cost was mounting. "Sir, the destroyer Courageous has been lost. Cruiser Dauntless reports critical damage and is breaking off. Battleship Titan has exhausted 70% of her munitions." "Tell Titan to fall back to resupply position," O ordered. "And get me a casualty count." The numbers appeared on her display. 800 human ships destroyed or disabled. Estimated 45,000 crew dead or missing. Against that, the fleet had eliminated approximately 2 billion Ravager ships. The math was brutal but clear. Humanity was winning, but the price was paid in blood. "Admiral," her sensor officer called, "Fleet Group Alpha has reached the inner defensive shell. Admiral Day is requesting all available fire support for the final push." O did not hesitate. "All ships, concentrate fire on these coordinates. Strip our own defensive line if you have to. Day is going for the hive. We make sure he gets there." Admiral Kang Day felt the Indomitable shudder as enemy fire penetrated the outer armor. Damage reports scrolled across his displays, fires on multiple decks. Hull breaches contained, casualty lists growing. "Distance to hive structure?" he asked. 40,000 kilometers, Commander Suman replied. "But sir, the final defensive layer is solid Ravagers. They have formed a physical wall around the hive. Phase 3 of Anvil Protocol." Deploy the hammer. Every human ship still capable of firing launched its entire remaining missile stock at the same time. Thousands of nuclear-tipped weapons accelerated toward the Ravager defensive wall, their guidance systems locked onto a single point. The missiles did not spread out to maximize coverage. They converged on one location, a focused strike designed to punch a hole through the wall by sheer concentrated force. The nuclear detonations lit up the system like a newborn star. When the light cleared, a gap existed in the Ravager defenses. Not large, but enough. All ships through the gap, now! The three remaining fleet groups, Alpha, Zeta, and Theta, accelerated through the opening before the Ravagers could close it. They left behind the rest of the human fleet still fighting to suppress the outer defensive shells, still dying to buy time for this final strike. The hive structure loomed ahead, massive and organic, pulsing with the combined intelligence of billions of consciousness nodes. "Ready the planet crackers," Day ordered quietly. Planet crackers. Weapons Earth had developed, and then collectively decided never to use except in the most extreme circumstances. Weapons that could shatter entire worlds, turn continents to plasma, boil oceans into space. Weapons that humanity had been wise enough to fear. "Planet crackers armed and ready," Suman confirmed. "Sir, once we fire these, there is no going back. The Council will know we have weapons capable of—" "They already know," Day interrupted. "Every species that survives long enough eventually develops the capability to destroy worlds. The question is not whether you have the weapons. It is whether you have the wisdom to use them only when absolutely necessary." He looked at the hive structure, at the source of so much death and suffering across the galaxy. "This is necessary? Fire!" The planet crackers launched, massive weapons that tore through space on columns of fusion fire. They impacted the hive structure at the same time. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the hive began to come apart. The biological structure could not withstand the terrible power. It split open, its interior exposed to vacuum, its billions of consciousness nodes dying at the same time. The central intelligence that had coordinated the Ravager species for thousands of years screamed across every communication frequency. A sound of shock and terror and rage and, finally, understanding. They had faced something they had never encountered before. A species more dangerous than themselves. The scream cut off, the hive structure shattered into billions of fragments. And across the galaxy, in hundreds of systems, Ravager swarms suddenly lost coordination. Their attacks became random and uncoordinated. The intelligence that made them so effective dissolved. What remained were billions of individual organisms operating on base instinct. The war was not over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. 3 days later, Admiral Kang Day stood in the Galactic Council chamber. His uniform showed the wear of continuous combat operations. His face was lined with exhaustion. Speaker Tirmon addressed the assembled representatives. "The Ravager threat has been neutralized. Our long-range sensors confirm that their forces are breaking apart. The Council fleets are beginning cleanup operations across affected areas." He paused. His gaseous form pulsed with complex emotions. "We owe this victory to humanity, to Admiral Day and his fleets, to the 12,000 humans who gave their lives to save billions of other beings." The chamber fell silent, a rare moment of unified respect across 100 species. Day stepped forward. "Speaker Tirmon, representatives of the Council, my fleets have completed their mission. The Ravagers are broken. Your forces can handle the remaining cleanup." He paused. "But before we go home, I need to address something directly." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "You are afraid of us now," Day continued bluntly. "You have seen what humanity can do when we bring our full military capacity. You know we have weapons capable of cracking planets. You are wondering what happens now, whether we will become the next threat." No one denied it. Day allowed himself a tired smile. Here is what happens. We go home. We return to our borders. We continue trading, exchanging culture, and participating in the galactic community exactly as we did before. Because Earth does not want an empire. We never did. Admiral Day gestured to the tactical displays still showing the cleanup operations. We built these fleets because we knew threats existed. We kept them hidden because we did not want to frighten our neighbors. We deployed them because people were dying and we had the power to help. His voice grew harder. But make no mistake. We will keep these fleets. We will keep our weapons, not to threaten you, but to ensure that the next time some big threat appears, someone is capable of stopping it. Speaker Tirmon pulsed a thoughtful purple. And if we ask for help again? Then ask, Day replied simply. If the cause is just, if innocent lives are at stake, humanity will answer. Because that is what Deathworlders do. We protect the weak. It is not always pretty, it is not always gentle, but it is who we are. He saluted the council, a gesture of respect from one power to others. The fleets are withdrawing. Thank you for your trust. We will see you at the next council session. 30 days later, the last human fleet departed council space. In the weeks that followed, galactic society began adjusting to a new reality. Humanity was not just another member species. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, powerful, dangerous, but apparently committed to using that power responsibly. Some species remained careful around humans. Others felt safer knowing such powerful allies existed. And on Earth, President Park Minji stood in her office overlooking Seoul and watched the fleets return home. She thought about the 12,000 humans who would not be coming back, about the families mourning their losses, about the future her decisions had shaped. Was it worth it? Her chief of staff asked quietly. Minji watched the first transport ships descend through the atmosphere. They carried crews returning from the front lines. Ask me in 100 years. Right now, I can only tell you this. We did what was necessary. We saved billions of lives, and we proved that humanity can be trusted with power. She paused. That is all we can do. Be worthy of our strength. On the street below, crowds gathered to welcome the returning veterans. Cheers rose up from the city as the first Marines emerged from the transport ships, tired but victorious. Lieutenant Choi Minho stepped off the transport with Ensign Kim Bora beside him. They had both survived. Many of their friends had not. "Minho!" a voice called from the crowd. His mother pushed through the people, tears streaming down her face. She grabbed him in a tight hug. "I am okay." "Mom," he said softly. "We are all okay now." "You saved everyone," she said, pulling back to look at him. "The whole galaxy. You and all these brave people." Minho shook his head. "We just did our jobs. That is all." But as he looked around at the celebration, at the people crying with relief and joy, he understood that it was more than that. Humanity had proven something important. They had shown that strength and compassion could exist together, that the most dangerous species could also be the most protective. Aboard the Indomitable, now in orbit around Earth, Commander Ro Sumin found Admiral Day in his ready room. He was writing letters, personal letters to the families of every crew member who had died under his command. "Admiral," she said softly, "you do not have to do all of these yourself. The automated system can—" "These people died following my orders," Day interrupted without looking up. "The least I can do is tell their families personally what their sacrifice meant, how their loved ones saved billions of lives, how they will be remembered." Sumin stood quietly for a moment. "For what it is worth, sir, you made the right calls, every one of them. We could not have won without your leadership." Day finally looked up. His eyes were tired but clear. "We won because every person on every ship did their duty. From the admiral to the lowest crew member. That is humanity's real strength, not our weapons, not our ships, our ability to work together toward a common goal. He returned to his letters. Make sure the crew gets proper rest before we decommission. They have earned it. Yes, sir. 5 years later, Admiral Kang Day sat in a comfortable chair on the observation deck of the Indomitable. The ship had been converted into a museum, a reminder of the Ravager War and the price of peace. A young student approached him. She could not have been more than 12 years old. Excuse me, Admiral Day? I am doing a report for school. Can I ask you a question? Day smiled. Of course. Do you regret it? Showing everyone how strong we are? My teacher says some species are still afraid of us. Day considered the question carefully. Fear is not always a bad thing. Sometimes fear is just respect wearing an uncomfortable mask. Yes, some species are afraid of us, but they are also alive because of us. Their children are alive. Their worlds are safe. He gestured to the stars visible through the viewport. Humanity comes from a dangerous world. We evolved as hunters on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We learned that the strongest survive by protecting the weak. The galaxy needed to learn that lesson. We taught it. The girl nodded slowly. So, you do not regret it? I regret every life lost, every family broken, every person who did not come home. Day's voice was firm. But I do not regret saving billions of innocent people. That is the burden of being from a death world. We are strong enough to make the hard choices, strong enough to pay the terrible costs. He looked directly at the young student. And we are strong enough to use that power responsibly. That is what makes humanity special. Not our weapons, our wisdom. Across the galaxy, things had changed. The Galactic Council had reformed its military structure. They had learned from human tactics, adopted human training methods, built better ships and better weapons. But they also learned something more important. They learned that military power alone was not enough. You needed the moral foundation to use it correctly. Trade between Earth and other worlds increased. Cultural exchanges flourished. Human teachers spread across the galaxy, sharing knowledge and learning from other species. And in the darkness between stars, in the places where threats might still lurk, humanity maintained its fleets. Ready, watchful, protective. On Earth, in a small apartment in Busan, former Ensign Kim Bora now worked as an instructor at the Space Fleet Academy. She taught young cadets about tactics, about strategy, about the realities of war. But mostly she taught them about responsibility. Power without wisdom is just destruction, she told her class. Any species can build weapons. Any species can learn to kill. But it takes real strength to know when to use that power and when to hold back. A cadet raised his hand. But if we are the strongest, why do we not just rule the galaxy? Would that not be easier? Bora smiled. Easier? Maybe. Right? Never. We are strong to protect, not to dominate. That is what separates us from the Ravagers. They use their strength to consume. We use ours to preserve. She pulled up images from the war. My friends died in this conflict. Good people who believed they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. They were right. And their sacrifice means that billions of people they never met get to live full lives. The classroom was silent. That is what it means to be from Earth. That is what it means to be human. We are dangerous because we evolved on a dangerous world. But we are good because we chose to be. Never forget that choice. It defines us. In the council chambers, Speaker Tirmon addressed the assembly for the last time before his retirement. 5 years ago, we faced extinction. The Ravagers were consuming world after world. We were powerless to stop them. Then humanity arrived with fleets we did not know existed, with weapons we could not imagine. And they saved us. He paused, his gaseous form glowing warm orange. Some of you were afraid of what humanity might do with that power. Some still are. But in 5 years, they have done nothing but continue to be good neighbors. They trade fairly. They share knowledge. They help those in need. They have proven that a species can be both powerful and good, both dangerous and trustworthy. They have set an example that I hope all of us can follow. The assembly erupted in applause. Not polite diplomatic applause. Real appreciation. Humanity had earned its place. Back on Earth, in his retirement home in the mountains outside Seoul, Admiral Kang Dae sat on his porch watching the sunset. His grandchildren played in the yard below. His wife brought him tea and sat beside him. "What are you thinking about?" "The future," he said simply. "Our grandchildren will grow up in a galaxy that knows peace. Real peace. Not because there are no threats, but because there are good people willing to stand against them." "You did a good thing," she said, taking his hand. "We did a necessary thing," he corrected. "There is a difference." She smiled. "Always the Admiral. Always precise." He laughed, a genuine, warm laugh. "Old habits." As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Day thought about the Ravager War, about the 12,000 who did not come home, about the billions who were alive because of them. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Deathworlders do not provide small amounts of help. They send fleets. They finish the job. And then they go home, secure in the knowledge that they used their terrible strength for good. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons, not technology, but the example that power and morality could exist together, that the most dangerous species could also be the most compassionate, that a death world could produce not conquerors, but protectors, and across the stars, on 100 worlds, children played safely. Families lived without fear, civilizations thrived, because humanity had answered the call, because Earth had sent its fleets, and because, when the final battle was won, humans had the wisdom to put down their weapons and return to peace. That was the real victory. Not the military triumph, but the moral one. Humanity had proven it could be trusted with power, and the galaxy was better for it.